What's the motherfucking deal? Welcome to Sauce Sports. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports is a Houston, Texas homer network. Means we talking all sports, but only Houston. So with that being said, I am your host, Ed Honcho, your Houston homeboy, your Houston homer, a.k.a. Senior Saucy, man. And if you're loving the best commentary in Houston sports, man, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button because we do this every day. Make sure you go down below, hit the links in the description, check out the podcast. Make sure you fucking with the flavor. Become a fresh ingredient. If you don't know what that means, hey, sauce requires ingredients. The freshest ingredients makes the best sauce. So become a part of the Sauce Nation by hitting that subscribe button. But man, let's get into it, man. We're going to be talking today about the Jets and the Texans, the matchup coming up at MetLife on Saturday. MetLife, ain't that like some insurance or some shit, you know? And they're going to need some insurance when it's all said and done. We're going to come up there, we're going to whoop that ass. We're going to be mad after that Colts loss. You know, we got to bounce back. We got to get we got to get things back in order. So, you know, I expect big things from the Texans going up there, but make sure you show some love and follow Sauce Sports on Instagram and Twitter if you want to stay updated. You know, when we're going to go live, we're going to stream whenever anything happening with the sauce, any flavors being stirred up. So make sure you check those out and show some love. But let's get into win it, man. Let's talk about the matchup between the Jets and the Texans. We'll just talk about a few things that I think need to be addressed going into this matchup. Let's start with the first thing that everybody's been talking about. Everybody's been making a deal out of, and they're talking about the weather. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. The weather, you can hear fucking howling outside. Sound like the fucking ghost of Christmas past or something, trying to get up in this bitch. But, you know, the weather is, I think, a highly overrated thing. I was kind of taking a look at the forecast. You know, the forecast ain't always right. Sometimes things change, you know, whether it's predictable but not always accurate. But about this time tomorrow, or around game time tomorrow, it's supposed to be about 50 degrees and then kind of declining after that. So by the time the game is over, this shit still shouldn't be anything less than 40. And I think by the time these guys get warmed up and going, they won't even realize it. They're talking about rain. I don't know how moist it already is. I know it's raining out there currently, or at the time of this recording. So the field may be a little bit damp, and everybody's talking about, you know, well, will they be able to handle that? The Texans are a running football team, third. They're third in the league in rushing, so they are built to run. They're not really tripping on that. And the passing game is just a nice added feature to what this team can do, and it complements them very well. So, you know, looking at that situation, everybody's talking about the weather, you know, that could be an effect on the Texans. It may, because, you know, sometimes I forget the Texans are an indoor team. You know, we got that drop top stadium, baby. You know, we pull up with the top on, top off. You know, we drop the top, pull up on them, however we want to do it. But, you know, mainly the Texans are an indoor stadium, but the weather is not appropriate. You know, if it's not adequate for a clean game, you know, the Texans will close the stadium. So we are an indoor team, and you forget that sometimes when you have the versatility that a stadium like NRG has. So the weather is a thing that I don't think is going to be a big factor, and so I hope people don't really get, you know, too caught up in that. But let's kind of move on from that. So another thing that I want to discuss, we're talking about that passing game. We're talking about Deshaun Watson, and I know a lot of people want to see those stats. They want to see those numbers. They want to see the Deshaun Watson of old. They want to see Deshaun Watson from last year putting up the 5 touchdowns, you know, throwing for 300-400 yards, you know, just going off. And, you know, that's cool and dandy. And I'm going to tell y'all something that I've been saying in every stream for quite some time now, that I feel like Bill O'Brien has a rabbit in his hat, has a trick up his sleeve, and we all know that Deshaun Watson is capable of doing those kinds of things. But right now, this Texans offense hasn't been completely healthy. You know, we lost Will Fuller early in the year, no excuses. We went and picked up DT, which was still a great move. And as he's getting more and more acclimated, and, you know, he finds his way, I still think they got to build a little bit up on that connection, because there's been a couple of times the last few weeks where he's had DT open deep and just kind of overthrew him a little bit. And he's kind of got Hopkins the same way. Just some timing issues. I don't think it's really anything that major, but you're glad to see that the throws there, the arm strength is there, and we're not too worried about it. But against the Jets and that secondary, they have a nice secondary. Went acquired Tremaine Johnson, I believe in the offseason. Jamal Adams, the young safety they have, is pretty nice. We got a young safety in ourselves in Reed. He's also pretty good. And then, you know, Morris Claiborne, I believe they have. And so these are guys that you're going to have to respect, that they, you know, they're a quality secondary. It might be the best unit that they have working for them right now, considering some of the other injuries and suspensions that they have going on their team. So I think it's just something that we need to pay attention to, that it'll be very interesting to see what Hop can do, what a veteran like DT can do. You got two Pro Bowl quality receivers on this team, so I know people want to see more from them, because I don't even think they had 100 yards together last game. They may have had under that, but 90 yards or so. I didn't get the stats exactly, but it wasn't a whole lot. So you definitely want to see a little bit more out of that. And so you're kind of wondering, whether or not Deshaun is going to have a field day passing. I'm going to say, don't look forward to it. I expect kind of along the lines of what we've been seeing, relying on the run heavily. And then, when the opportunities come up, open up the play action and see what you can get from that. But again, like I said, I expect the Texans to rely heavily on the run, especially if the weather is not the most ideal for a game. So another thing that we need to get into as we're talking about this Texans and Jets game, you're talking about a rookie quarterback, and the Texans versus rookie quarterbacks. I want to say there at this point, I want to say Baker made it 8-1. I might be wrong. It might be 7-1 or 8-1. But again, the odds of playing the Texans in the Bill O'Brien era, the Cornell era, are not good for rookie quarterbacks. And again, Darnold, I don't really think he's that guy. I'm going to be honest with you. I know a lot of people saying he looks like a franchise guy. He made that game-winning play against the Bills, and it was cool, and it was fine. But just overall, what I've seen from him personally, again, let's be honest, I haven't sat there and watched a whole lot of him, but what I have seen here and there from him, I'm just not extremely impressed. But again, he's a rookie. Again, he's in the Jets organization. He's got a ways to go. The Jets are not the most talented team, and so you can only work with what you have. And as far as receiving, it's the number one receivers out. What is it, Anunwa, and then you got the Robbie Anderson guy who's got about 30-something catches. What he got, 31 catches for 492 yards, which actually is not bad numbers. Now compared to what Hop is doing, he's not going to get used at the frequency that Hop has. Again, because he's not the number one primary target. But those are pretty good numbers, and so it should be interesting to see what he does this game, because he's a speedier guy. So it's going to be interesting to pay attention to that, especially, with some of the questions we had about the secondary after the game with Andrew Luck. But I think that's just the Luck T.Y. Hilton factor. T.Y. Hilton has consistently been a thorn in the Texans' side since he's been in Indianapolis, and I don't expect that to stop anytime soon unless we just go and acquire some lockdown, shutdown, or headhunting corners, just take him out. I wish that on nobody. You want to see the healthiest guys play, because if you're a football fan, you want to see talent first, and you want to love your team. You want your team to be able to top that talent. You don't want to have that excuse, well, he such and such didn't play, and all that. But again, overall, just kind of looking at the offensive side of the ball for the Jets, again, it's going to rely heavily on Darnold. At their backup, I think McGuire. And because Isaiah Crowell, as far as I've checked, I know early on this week he did not practice much, and now he's looking like he's going to be out. So again, that's going to be a little bit of a dent in what they do. And the Texans defense brings a very stout rushing defense, so you're not going to really get much on them. They haven't getting up 100 yards in a couple of seasons, it seems like. Sometime last year, it might have been, I remember Fournette early in the year last, but it took him forever to fucking get hit. I think it took him damn near 30 rushes. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Again, like I said, I'm just looking at everything, and it just, honestly, it just favors the Texans, in these situations. And again, you want to see good competitive football, but with the Chiefs taking that L, you look back at that Colts game and you kind of wonder, damn, what if the Texans would have secured that victory? What if Clowney would have jumped off sides? And it's not all on Clowney. It just comes down to that play. That was just the most recent memory of that game, I guess you would have, since it came down to the end, and it just kind of killed the opportunity to get a chance or to have a shot at it. But there were several plays before that put that game out of hand, or put that game in a position that it shouldn't have been in the first place. But again, just kind of making a quick comparison of the two teams, there's a few things that we need to look at. So, looking at the two teams, comparing these offenses, again, you have the Jets, who put up almost just under 21 points a game at 20.8. That's good for 26th in the league. You got them putting up 296 yards, which is good for 30th in the league, which means that they're not getting they're not moving the ball that much or that well, honestly. 190 passing yards a game, which is also good for 30, means that they're not going to kill you through the air right now, even, and it's going to be even worse without their star, or not their star, but their number one receiver. So I think that's something that you have to look out for. That should fall into the Texans' advantage. They should be able to leverage that in their favor. And again, like I say, we're just going through the top, but I really expect this one to be a handy win for the Texans and to stay on track. And we're hoping for a Patriots loss. They're rushing 106 a game. That's good for 21st in the league. Again, so you're talking about really a bottom tier offense right now. The best that they're doing is 21st in the league at any category. That's not going to get you very far. Again, close to that in that bottom third of the league. That's not going to cut it. Now, the Texans aren't world beaters on offense either, and I think there's plenty of reasons for that, and I'm not making any excuses. But you see Will Fuller, the deep threat, the speedster, him being out has been a significant difference. I think that changes a lot of things. Kiki has only played, 6 games this season, and a guy that for the slot that we heavily relied on, Bruce Ellington, is gone. And for all the people who was, we should have kept Bruce, and we need Bruce. Guess what? Bruce is out this game for the Lions. So, there's that. I'm not hating on Bruce. Love what Bruce brought to the team, but I'm just saying, we can always say we should have done, would have done, could have done, and didn't do. But you never know what's going to happen to anybody at any time. So that's why I say don't get overexcited. Just roll with it, man, because it is what it is. But let's talk about the Texans. 24.8 points, so just under 25 points a game scoring. But when you have a defense that can keep teams under that, and it's kind of funny because that's kind of around the points we talked about earlier in the year with the roundtable. And if you don't know, we go live damn near every evening, 7 o'clock Central Time. So we go live talking about the Texans, talking about Houston sports, whatever's going on in the city. You can call in and voice your opinions. You can text in and voice your opinions on the sauce line. Like I said, we take calls live. We address questions and all those good things. We're joined by me and the roundtable. So if you don't know, now you know. And again, if you ain't hit that subscribe button yet, you bullshit, go ahead and hit that bitch. But like I say, so just under 25 points a game, which is good for 12th in the NFL, putting up 369.5 yards, almost 370 yards a game, which is good for 13th in the NFL. 19th in passing, which is 232.7 yards, which is, it's so-so. It gets the job done. We haven't seen, like I said, those big statistical games from Deshaun this year. And again, a lot of that comes down to when you don't have a line that can really protect you. You can talk about how, the passing attempts have been reduced kind of in the second half of the season, or a little bit, about midway through the first half of the season, and then kind of after that. Say about game 4 or 5, we saw a change, and I think that ended up working out for the better. I know people want the big numbers, but I'll take the wins over the big numbers any day, because we had big numbers last year, and at this point, just as many losses in half the game. So, take that how you want to. 136.8 rushing yards, which is good for 30 in the NFL. And right now, that has been the Texans' strength. And even though the last couple of weeks, the Texans haven't rushed very well. So it's very interesting to see that they're still up there with those numbers, even though, like I say, last week was terrible. The Colts keyed in on the run. They made sure we couldn't really do anything with it. So both Blue wasn't doing much, Miller wasn't doing much, and Foreman wasn't activated. So, there's that. Then again, you look at last week, too, when you talk about passing and some of those statistics, how, you have Webb out there playing slot receiver because, your returner / slot receiver's out, your starting slot receiver's out. And so these things, again, have an impact on what you're able to do in the passing game. So I think these are just things that you have to take note of, even though, people say what they want to say. Comparing these two defenses, man, they are the 22nd in points given up, which is about 25.4 a game, 23rd in yards given up at 375.8 a game. So I find that number, you look at the number for the Texans offense, so that's right about neck and neck. Now, they are 16. All right, players fuck up, my bad. 243.8 yards a game passing is what they allow. So again, just a little bit more than the Texans put up, and so that's actually bodes well for the Texans and what they want to do. Then you can catch them. They are 27th with giving up 132 rushing yards a game, which is slightly under what the Texans want to do. So again, puts us in another good position. So I think that it should be very interesting. The Texans should be able to have their way and run with the kind of game plan that they've been running for most of the year. And then looking at the Texas defense, I'm going to tell you, let's be honest, the last 2 weeks, the quarterbacks they faced with the Browns and the Colts, and I think some of those numbers, I won't say the Colts because the Colts were actual in-game numbers. I think the game against Baker inflated his numbers, even though they really weren't doing anything. You had almost 400 yards or something like that, and everybody made a big deal about that. That's why I say numbers can be overrated. You actually have to see the context of the game, but to only put up a couple of points. So those numbers made some of these stats look like what they are, but hey, they are what they are because it was happening on the football field. So the Texans are giving up 19.9 points a game, which is good for 5th in the league. But 13th in the league in yards allowed, which is 348. And again, when you're letting quarterbacks put up, 300 yards passing on you plus, it's not going to look good for your overall statistics. 24th in the league with 260 passing yards. And again, you could talk about those back-to-back games with Baker and Luck putting up nice numbers and shit. You're allowing T.Y. to have damn near 200 passing on his own. Very interesting. But then when you come to the run game, they're good for 5th with only 88.2 yards a game. Again, as I mentioned, haven't given up a 100-yard rusher in quite some time. So again, like I said, there's just several things that you have to look at in this game. And, even though they have guys like Adams and Claiborne, they have the Anderson kid, the receiver who's playing well. You got Darnold. He's a rookie, man, and I think the odds are just against him. He's still kind of finding his game. Has come off of 15 interceptions. Only 12 touchdowns. I think that this Texan defense is just going to put a little bit too much pressure on them. The Bills have a good front, and I'm not going to insult the Bills. I'm not going to say they're bad. We saw them when we played them earlier this year. Now, I'm not sure about what injuries they've sustained at this point or since then, but the Bills have a good front. They're a solid defense, and, he was able to come back and get the win on that. But, again, their offense is terrible, and it just kind of is what it is, especially after you recently got rid of, who was it, Benjamin? So, again, I'm just saying I don't think that you're comparing two different types of teams. Now, again, like I say, the big factor that they have in their pocket is that the Texans are going up there to play, but I don't think that's going to leverage too much of a benefit. Even though we are an indoor team, we are a running team. This team is very adaptable, and so there's no worries about that. So looking at this, the Chiefs have already taken the L. We're looking for the Pats, and I think the Pats take on the Steelers this weekend, so that'll be interesting. The Steelers, I would love for them to take the L, but I'm not too confident in what they're going to do. Just seeing some of the teams they've struggled with, lost to recently, and I've been telling people, all year that Steelers are not that real. A lot of media hype, a lot of people just believe anything that the national media says. The national media doesn't do its research. As y'all saw, Stephen A. got exposed this year because what these guys do, what these people do is they have people who help them with all the information that they need. They're not watching the games. They're not doing their own research to at least, try to find out what's what. And so they're really just spewing off at the mouth. There's no way that these people have enough time to keep track with everything that's going on via all these sports and be of adequate knowledge. I mean, let's just be realistic. And I'm not hating on them. They have a job to do. But you saw how foolish he looked. And that's why I tell you guys, especially when it comes to the Houston Texans, that the national media does not watch Texans games. They do not give the Texans props, because if they did, they wouldn't just now be talking about DeAndre Hopkins and some of the players that we have on this team. So ultimately, we saw what happened the last time the Jets and the Texans met up. That was, 15 with Revis, and Hopkins had his way with him. Well, Revis on the decline then. It's going to be a very interesting matchup because, again, like I say, two capable corners, again, against two capable Pro Bowl receivers. And then, hopefully, I believe the Carter kid should be healthy and will actually have a real slot receiver. But you have to watch out, coming off the concussion protocol, what that situation will be. Ultimately, my prediction is going to be given to you at the pregame show. And like I said, we do this live every day. So we'll be going an hour before the game. I think the game is 3:30 Central Time. So probably we'll be going about 2:15 Central Time. We'll be going live so that we have a little bit of time before the game. We don't want to be right there up to the minute on it. But so make sure you tune in, make sure you subscribe, make sure you're here for the pregame show, man. If you want to talk shit, if you're a Texans fan, we do this every time. And like I say, love to hear your predictions, your thoughts, and your feelings on it. If you're a Jets fans, come on in and talk shit so we can beat that ass, and you won't show up in the post-game show. You know how that goes. It's been like that for most of the season this year. People will pop up in the post-game shows who were quiet in the pregame just so they can talk some shit. But hey, it's all good. It is what it is. But hey, man, like I said, I am your host, your boy, Houston homeboy, your Houston homer, all that good shit. Ed Honcho, as if you don't know. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another super saucy video. Hey, man, make sure you hit the like, the subscribe button, become a fresh ingredient, join Sauce Nation. Like I said, we do this every day, man. And then make sure you check out. No, hit the right button. Sauce Sports on Instagram and Twitter, man. Sauce Sports HTX on both of them. You know, keep it easy, keep it simple. Link in the description below if you want to join the Sauce Sports Facebook group, and give the Sauce Sports Facebook page a like, man. Like I said, we're trying to grow this thing. We're trying to do something major. And hey, heading into 2019, we're trying to get some good momentum going on. But with that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for checking out this video. Again, it's all good. Y'all stay saucy. It's your boy at Honcho. I'm out.